That's how social selling works. It is a form of outreach and outbound without having to actually send them an email. Especially if you're a scaling company or you have a board. If you don't know how to give forecasts that end up happening accurately, it means you don't know your business. I'd like to talk about it today in our episode on Your Future Biz, all about why most people's pipelines are in fact poopy, why it matters, and how to fix it.
Right on. This is what you're known for, girl. So
I know. Unfortunately,
this is your moment.
Unfortunately, I have built a brand around the term no poopy pipelines. And sometimes
Lindsay and the poop emoji go hand in hand, y'all. If you didn't know.
Sometimes you just have to lean in. Oh, well. I'll start off with the origin story of how poopy pipelines came to be, actually, because I do get it asked pretty often.
Okay, wait.
When I first got into tech, and I first became a sales manager, we would do the thing that all the companies do to this day. It was on Fridays. It was like update Salesforce, right? Update your pipeline. And all that meant was make sure your close dates were in the future. And that was mostly it. Maybe like there was a next step date that you would like put in the future as well. But like you just did it because the CEO needed it for the board, right? Like it was okay. Everyone would just do it. Nobody was actually updating their pipeline for accuracy of what was truly still an active deal. They just moved things forward.
To check a box.
Yep. Just get off my back. And we were a month-to-month sales cycle at that org. So when I became a sales manager, I stopped letting my reps do that. And I would, in the one-on-ones, actually talk about what's in their pipeline. And I would challenge them a lot on things that shouldn't have been in there anymore. And I also would tell them, like, also don't just, everyone would just push the close date out another Friday, right? Like a week ahead. Choose the date you're actually working toward. Be honest about it and use that for yourself in your pipeline. Just little things like that. And because at that time, Dom was a baby, I said poop a lot because, well, there was a lot of poop happening, right? So I guess I would say things like, I don't want you guys having poopy pipelines. Make sure your pipeline's up to date by the time we have our one-on-one so we can actually use it effectively, not spending the whole time having you update it while we're talking. Anyways, when you grow and you scale, I lost some reps to other teams, I gained some, whatever. And so I had a rep, and about 2 months after being on a different team, came up to me and he was like, Mom, everyone called me Mom there, no matter if they were twice my age.
Even though they were probably older than you.
Most of them were older than me.
Yep.
I had reps that were twice my age in their 50s, but I was Mom. And it was like, Mom, he's like, I have a really poopy pipeline. And I was like, oh, okay.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah. Like, what are you going to do about it? Right? He was like, so-and-so's not on me like you are about the pipelines. And I'm seeing how, like, I've gotten really lax about it, but like, I really don't have a clear picture of how my month's going to go. And I went, oh. And so that was actually a light bulb moment for me. One, apparently I said poopy pipelines enough that was a thing. Two, this was helping my reps. Like it was genuinely helping them do better, not just, some RevOps or CRM hygiene type thing. So that being said, there are people that I worked with there that I've since hired more than once and worked with again. And so my reputation has followed me because even in the last W-2, sales leadership role I had, one of my reps that I'd worked with and first met at that company I just mentioned, in the beginning, he said something like, Lindsay doesn't like poopy pipelines. And I went, oh, I don't. You're right. And so, other people in the team were like, what? And so here we go, right? So that's the origin story. I had an internal document for the sales like strategy and playbooks and stuff that is titled, and I have it right here actually in front of me. It says no poopy pipelines, and it would break down what it meant. What's a good pipeline?
Emoji in the title?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely. This was an official company document. And now I literally have an offering, right, for companies to help them with this, but let's talk a little bit about why it is so important. It is not just as simple as having a clearer picture on like how a rep might do for their month. I care deeply about that for them. But when you look at the big picture for a company, why should a CEO really care, right? And they should care because you're never going to forecast accurately for your business if all your reps have poopy pipelines. Their poopy pipelines make it so that your company has a poopy pipeline. It's just crap, right? It's garbage snapshot of what you're realistically going to be closing in any given time period. So if you have poopy data, you'll have a poopy forecast, right? And especially if you're a scaling company or you have a board, right? Or you have investors, if you don't know how to give forecasts that end up happening accurately, it means you don't know your business. And then they don't trust you. And then people start getting fired. So it's quite dire.
It's quite dire, darling.
And while we say, it's funny, they're like, I think it's so funny every time you say poopy pipelines. This is serious, people.
This is money. This is revenue we're talking about here.
Seriously. So that's why it matters. What defines a pipeline to be poopy? So it's a lot more than people, I think, and that's why it's an epidemic. It's not just as simple as your close date is maybe stuck in the past, right? That's a clear giveaway. It's like you have a date in your Salesforce, your HubSpots, and it's for June 1st and it's already June 10. Well, obviously we've missed the deadline there. But it goes beyond that. It's literally everything about that deal. Is it up to date as much as possible? Because if not, it's poopy, right? So things like, what is the next step you have for this deal? And what stage is it truly in? That's another big offender. You have them in the, someone put it in demo completed or something like that, but really it should be in proposal sent. You have deals in there that shouldn't be there in the first place. That's probably the number one offender in my opinion. And especially with really early stage companies that I help, it's a lot of unlearning to be like, you don't just put anyone in there that you're going to have a conversation with.
Correct.
What do you mean? Why not? How else can I keep track of them? Like there's no other possible way to see these people if they don't sit in the pipeline, right? The deal amount, the amount you're actually working on, that one. Like you want to be able to look at a pipeline and see how much potential money is in there, and you don't even have that accurate. If you're off by $1,000, like from every rep's pipeline, like you're off by a crap ton now for your holistic company pipeline. So there's that. And then the other thing that people don't think a lot about, I feel like too, is like, what are you actually selling? So like if you sell products, right, is that up to date in the deal or whatever services you're selling? So for example, one of my orgs sold an enterprise plan or a professional plan. Those were two different sales cycles, two different price points, two different types of win rates that we had. Our win rate was lower in enterprise. That's very normal. The win rate for professional was higher and a shorter sales cycle. So if I'm going to take a look and someone was initially looking at buying enterprise, but now they've switched to buying professional midway through the pipeline, often like that wasn't reflected. That wasn't changed. When people change it, when they have to win the deal. That's not helpful.
Exactly.
So all of those things make it so that, a deal is poopy. It's not an accurate snapshot. The thing that I would say is, you can do a lot in the CRM to try to fix that. You can set up systems and automations and properties that are required to fill out. But guess who will always figure out a way around that? Sellers, right? Because we don't want to be blocked. We want to just do our job and this and that. So there's a huge cultural shift that has to happen when you're trying to get pipeline management to actually be good in an organization. And so that is why it's important to sit down with a rep and say, what is it that you need? Like, what are your goals you want to achieve? People have personal ones. It's not just, I want to keep my job. I want to make a lot of money. It's, I want to save up a ring to propose to someone. I want to have a baby. I want to buy a house. I want retirement. I have student debt like no other, right? I want to take my mom on her dream Paris trip, whatever it might be. There's yeah, see? Actually, I think I had the sweetest rep. He just wanted to buy a house for his mom in Arkansas.
Oh, cute.
Right? Like those are real things that reps care about. So what can you do to help them achieve that? Show them exactly what they need to do in their pipeline to achieve that goal.
And define what it is, what constitutes getting added to the pipeline.
Yeah.
It is not when someone filled out a form and responded to your email.
No. In fact, I'll break down the kind of three main things that I recommend every deal actually have before you put it into the pipeline.
Perfect.
But like caring at the bottom level of the actual reps, the SDRs and AEs that are contributing and building pipelines, like help them understand if your data here is accurate. We can take a look at your personal KPIs of like what your win rates are, what your sales cycles like, what your average deal size is like, to show you exactly what you need to do to get there and by when. But if you keep putting poop in here, you're going to get poop out, and I can't help you very much. Right? And an easy, like, it was really easy when that monthly sales cycle was going on for that first company, because I would like look at them when they wouldn't let go of a deal that shouldn't be in there anymore. And I go, is this going to be in your next commission check? No. All right, then it's time to close lost it. Right. So you see a lot of organizations, they make this first stage of their pipeline be leads, people, inbound leads, SQLs, whatever you want to call them, people who raise their hand, but you haven't talked to them yet. That does not go into your pipeline.
No.
I don't care. I will die on that hill. No. That's not for the pipeline. There's ways that you can do that. So many reports and views and other ways to manage and keep track of those things, but they're not qualified. You haven't spoken to them yet. Just because they want to talk to you doesn't mean that they're actually supposed to go into your pipeline. So there's 3 main things that I tell people to uncover before they're allowed to make a deal into the pipeline. Okay, so 3 minimum qualifications. Interest. Are they actually interested in speaking to you? That one, ideally, if they're an inbound lead, that one tends to cover it. But if you're doing any outbounding, they should actually be genuinely interested in what you have to sell to some extent.
This seems like Captain Obvious, but we need to say it.
We have to say it.
We have to.
The amount of times I've seen something in a pipeline, they're like, well, no, they just happened to comment on someone's post. And so then I made a deal, and then I sent them this email, and they said that they talked to me, but they don't actually know what we do yet. That does not go in the pipeline. No. Are they a fit for what you offer? And this is high level, because a discovery call is genuinely where you then determine if they are a fit for what you do, and you need to uncover all those things. But you should still be able to say high level, you're a fit for what we offer. And if you don't know how to do that, that's a different episode. Okay. And then timing. This one's actually the worst.
Big one.
This is the biggest offender. People just go, oh, you're interested in hearing what we have to say and you're a high level fit. Boom, I'm putting you in the pipeline. And then how many times do you end up losing that opportunity because they're not actively looking to solve the problem? They were interested. Actually just had one today, right? We had a lead that responded to our email outreach, and I spoke with him, but I asked him, I said, look, we could talk about a lot of stuff, but are you actively in need of building more revenue for your company? Or is this just something that you were interested in learning more about? And he was honest with me. He was like, not really, like kind of, I'm interested in what it is, but like, I'm not looking to solve this in the next couple months. Great. That guy's not going to be a deal in Mandy in my pipeline.
Nope.
I'm going to nurture him along the way. So that one people don't uncover. And it's as easy as asking a question like I just did. Are you actively looking to solve this problem?
Yes or no?
Yes or no. And depending on what your sales cycle is, you should have some sort of time frame. So you could say something like, if it was an enterprise level type of thing, something in the next 6 months could be okay, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're more transactional, or if this is like mid-market, if they're not looking to do anything about this in the next 3 months, they don't go in the pipeline. That doesn't mean they disappear. You put them in a different type of workflow. There's lots of them, so that you nurture them until one day maybe they are in that time frame. Because again, a pipeline should be a snapshot of what your company is actively working to close.
And by the way, side note, for those people who are not ready in the next 3 to 6 months, you should also be connecting with them on LinkedIn. If it came from inbound, if it came from outbound outside of LinkedIn, you need to add them to a nurture sequence, but also add them to your LinkedIn network and message them. That way they are in your algorithm. So when you are posting content soon after you message them, they're going to see your content for at least a couple weeks. And then check in with them on LinkedIn, because the way the algorithm works is when you message people, LinkedIn shows your post to those people. So if you want to stay top of mind, don't just rely on your email sequences for these people. Add them to your LinkedIn and make a note in your CRM to message them once a month just to check in. That way the algorithm triggers them to see your posts when you should be posting content. They're going to see it and you're going to stay even more top of mind.
Yep, because that's how social selling works. It is a form of outreach and outbound without having to actually send them an email. Do not, for God's sakes, just checking in. How are you doing?
Please,
don't do that.
Don't.
Don't do it. So if those three minimum things have been uncovered, and sometimes it's via email, sometimes it's a quick connect call, sometimes that call you have turns into a full discovery, and that's all fine. But do not dare make that deal. Do not open that deal and put it into discovery, scheduled, or whatever is your first, which probably should be about that one, until those things have happened. And then you should be moving the deal in the stages as it moves. And here's why all of this is so important. Updating all of those data points that I listed off earlier. When you have someone like me who needs to do a forecast for the business, if I can trust my data, then I can go and look and literally see, I have the probabilities of when deals are going to close by a set time frame. So for example, the win rate, let's say the win rate across the board is 30% for our company, which is strong average across the board for most companies out there. 30% is very strong. 20 to 30, depending on your industry. That means that at any given time, 30% of what's in the pipeline will eventually win. We will gain that revenue. That's at any given time though. So here's where I see a lot of companies mess up. They think, right now I see $1 million in the pipeline, so we're gonna close 30% of that, done. But that's not how it works, because it depends on which stage that revenue is in, right? So if I have stage 1 discovery scheduled, that win rate's not 30%. It's say 15% because it's just in stage 1. And then as each stage gets further along, that win rate should increase. You should never have ones go down the further along. That something's wrong there in your sales process. So each stage furthers along, usually by the mid stage of whatever your pipeline stages are, you should have at least 50% win rate. If something's in this stage, there's a 50-50 chance we're going to win it, and so on and so forth. But again, it's
how do you
always
even know that early on anyway? You don't know what the amount is for the product and service if it's so early, right?
Depends. Like if you're selling SaaS and you have very set pricing,
okay,
enterprises,
SaaS is different, but like
40,000.
services.
But if you're doing services,
you don't know.
Yeah, but like my forecast fix is a certain amount of money. So it's either going to be this or not, right? So that can vary. But by the time you are in, like I'm saying, like mid stage should be something like proposal sent. Your percentage should come off of that amount of money, right?
Correct.
And so it should
Once
be
the proposal's been sent, that's when I feel like you can really start getting into the details of figuring out the numbers. But before the proposal's been sent,
yeah, that's why numbers are like 10, 15% win rate, and you go off your best guess. So that what you should do is kind of go off of the average contract value that you have for those stages, right? And then as you get closer, it's going to get more accurate. So that's why that matters, because let's say that I want to forecast what you and I are going to do by the end of June. I have very low win rates for those stages because we only have 3 weeks left. Right? Versus if I had it for end of, say, September, then I get to use different. The rates go up because I have more time. I have the full sales cycle length to account for. So people don't do all that. And that's why it matters, because if I go do a forecast and I go and look at my whole teams, let's just do my enterprise team. I had 10 reps, all with their own pipelines of enterprise deals. And if I have someone who's talking to an enterprise or doing an enterprise level company, and they've kept it in stage 1, but it really should be in stage 4, then I'm going to calculate way lower, or vice versa, right? So like, that's why it matters. So if you can teach your reps to be at least about 90% accurate with their own pipelines, which is very hard, and most organizations are sitting in like 50, 60%, not mine.
How often do you tell them to like go through and double check everything and make sure it's accurate?
So the best practice is that you should be updating the deals the moment that something's changing. But that's just not realistic,
but
right?
That's not realistic. So is it weekly? Is it?
Some people, I don't know what it is. It tends to be this like Friday thing. The end of the week, everyone likes to do it on Fridays, right? Yep. It's okay. I think it's fine. I don't think it matters. I think weekly at minimum, you should be making sure your pipeline is up to date. I used to do something called Name That Forecast when I still had a sales org. It was a competition amongst all the reps. And so whoever was the most accurate at their forecast won. Not who sold the most, who was the most accurate at calling what their forecast would be and then what they actually ended with at the end of the quarter. So then you were the forecast queen or king. You got a little virtual crown and you got some money for it. So I had reps. So what we would do is everyone knew if you have a poopy pipeline at the end of the quarter, which you tend to because you try to close what you can and then certain things don't happen, some things roll over, whatever. By the 5th day in the new quarter, your pipeline needed to be completely up to date because in our meeting, you were going to call out what you're going to do for that quarter.
Okay.
And we put it on a sheet. And then at the top of each month, I'd say, okay, what's your forecast? And they'd go, okay. And if anything changed drastically, they'd have to say why and what they were planning on doing to do something about it. Great. And then month before the quarter, you better be pretty accurate because nothing much is going to change now with a month left, right? Mm-hmm. And we went from like some reps being like 50 to 60% accurate and a couple being in the 80 to 90 already to everyone across the board being 90 plus. Wow. But it took 3 full quarters of things to get there. But it's important to me because not only did now the accuracy of the data improve that they were putting into the pipeline for me to do my collective forecast, I still need the gut reaction from my AEs because that data is only a future indicator of past behavior and stuff changes real time. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's not as simple as just math. It's teaching reps and, understanding what does it really mean to commit to a deal? What signs do I really need to feel good about this happening? Am I being realistic about when this is actually going to close? All of that stuff and the data combined so that you can take a look and say, my data says this, but I know that right now our sales cycles are getting longer because layoffs are happening and things are getting scary. So we're going to go more conservative on this, right? So it's really hard to do forecasting for a business. Like there's a reason why this is the issue that it is, but it can start as simple as just making sure that you have an active pipeline.
Yep. Start with the simplest of the simples, folks.
So
don't be putting poop in your pipeline.
If you put poop in, you will get poop out. It's just how it goes. So while you could go and do an entire audit of your pipeline based off of all the things that I've just said, not to overwhelm you, you could just start with this. Go identify the crap that's been in there longer than it should be.
And get rid of it.
Flush it out.
It's been stinking up.
Smells, we can smell it all the way over here. Okay. Me in the Bay Area, Mandy in Kansas right now, and it smells. Okay. So just flush out your pipeline.
From the Midwest to the West Coast, we can smell your shit. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So be honest with yourself. How many times have you pushed that close date out? If it's 5, dude, get out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say
not.
If it's 3.
I mean,
3
yeah.
would be like.
But these are like, it should be obvious. Like 5, if you're trying to push it out 5th time, absolutely not. Close lost it. Yeah. Okay. If they haven't responded to you.
Yes. If they've ghosted you in the last 6 months. They've ghosted you.
Okay. Out. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. If they want to talk in 6 months, out. Goodbye. Right? People go, oh my God, but I want to talk in 6 months. That's fantastic. It's not an active deal that you're working toward right now.
Note it in your CRM. Nurture them. Reach out in 6 months.
Use your tools and you will. And you'll start and you'll continue to nurture them on LinkedIn, won't you? Yes, you will. So go get the poop out. And then you're going to see what you really have working. And if that scares the shit out of you, because you just
literally,
good. Now you need to go figure out, you need to go get some pipeline because otherwise you're going to wonder why you got to the end of your month or your quarter or whatever you're doing for your business and go, why am I in the position I'm in? Because you didn't have enough and you didn't have enough real pipeline.
Yeah, that's a really good point because if you have a bunch of poo in there and you think that like, oh, if you just glance, because we got a million things going on as sellers and you're like, oh yeah, this is my pipeline. But in the reality, there's half of it is garbage poo. And then you're like, oh, actually, damn, because it's going to make you hustle harder if you have it cleaned up. You're going to actually spend time on things that move the needle. Yeah. Not like, oh, I forgot that this poopy pipeline, 8 clients, A, B, C, and D are in here and they shouldn't be. And then it's going to give you false hope.
Yeah. And it's way harder to go find new pipelines. So people really do justify as best they can to not have to do that. They think, well, I got a lot to work with here. Or actually, I just got off with one of the founders yesterday. That's one of our wave makers. And a really large deal that they were thinking, I thought was going to go through too, but it didn't. And that just shows I had to remind them. I said, you're going to do everything right and only 30% of it's going to close. They went with a competitor. And I said, that's actually a good thing because it shows that that validates that what you were selling them is a need, but you did everything right and they still went with a different option. Only 30% of this is going to close. And his reaction was, first and foremost, we're going to really go out, and try to like just make sure the rest of our pipeline closes and go for upgrades. And I went, nope. Number one priority is go find new business to put into your pipeline.
Yeah, don't rely on what's in there now.
No. So that's your tactical takeaway. I don't want to hear any whining about why like you don't have a good idea of how you're really going to do by the end of a quarter because you didn't give yourself an accurate snapshot. So you've been warned.
You've been warned. And if you guys want Lindsay's help with this, she just mentioned our Wavemaker. We have a membership called The Next Wave, and Lindsay and I are both in there in the stock community helping y'all out. So These are things we cover and help you guys with. Links below.
All right. Until next time.
Adios. Okay, now go build something cool. And if you can't figure out what's holding back your revenue, grab our free Hidden Revenue Finder GPT at yourfuturebiz.com/revenue.
If you like what you hear, or at least didn't hate it, hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode.
And just like that, another business problem got a little clearer. Because in the business world, it's not about who raises first.
It's about who lasts.